Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. NHL 25 has been out for a week, and the new hologram system has everyone intrigued. There are 12 85 overall holograms for you to choose, and another 22 additional power-up icon skaters to choose from. And with not a lot of resources in people's collections, especially for free-to-play players, it is crucial that you are getting the best bang for your buck when you make one of these power-up icons. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the meta selections for power-up icons in NHL 25, and just like we always do, we are going to do this with a tier list. Let's get right into it. Here we are with our tier list. 34 power-up icons. I left out the goalies for this, but 34 players ranging from 82 to 85 overall, and we have 5 categories. We have the top 3, which is going to be exclusive for the best 3 hologram cards. We have an excellent category. We have a category specifically for the best 82s, because some of the 85s, even though I don't think they're the best bang for your buck icons, will be better than the best 82s. We have a mid category and a non-meta category. I'm going to rank these based on a variety of contributing factors, including build, attributes, X factor, and the potential for upgrades based on previous trends within EA NHL Hockey Ultimate Team. Let's get right into this. First up, from the Ottawa Senators, we have Daniel Alfredsson. 85 overall with 88 speed and 88 acceleration, Daniel Alfredsson offers a fantastic middle-sized right-handed winger. Also, Daniel Alfredsson has a really good defensive category, which is very surprising for someone of his size and of his position. Gold-born leader makes him a good asset. However, I think that he is the third best right-handed winger of the bunch. So with that being said, we are going to move Daniel Alfredsson into the excellent category. Not someone who I think you should be spending your first resources on, but definitely someone who can fit in your top 6. Next up, from the Boston Bruins, we have Ray Bourque, left-handed defenseman, and he is going to go into the mid category. Being 6 foot 223 pounds, you would hope that he would have a little bit more speed, and you would hope that his silver ability would be a bit better with silver heat seeker. Not a lot of a physical category, and honestly, I think he's the third best 82 overall left-handed defenseman of the bunch, and he's not even the best offensive defenseman, who I think is Paul Coffey and Sergei Gonchar. However, I will say this: Ray Bourque is a candidate to get an all-star MSP in January, as he has one of the fastest shooting accuracy times in NHL All-Star Skills competition history. So he is a charity upgrade candidate, but as of right now, he's going to go into the middle category. When picking up icon players, usually you would want to have them in your top 6, and there are usually very few icons that I would advocate using at the bottom of your lineup for a long duration of time. However, Brind'Amour definitely fits into that category and will be going into the best 82 icon category. Fantastic faceoffs at 88, a well-used synergy in two-way forward, 88 speed, 84 acceleration at 6'2", 200 pounds. Very good player. I'm using him at the top of my lineup, and I think he fits the mold of bottom 6 center on a team way better than any of the other grinder / two-way center icons that are currently available. Definitely someone that you should pick up. Definitely someone who I advocate you going out of your way to obtain, even after you exchange icons for a hologram. Next up, from the Chicago Blackhawks, is someone that I've actually grown to appreciate as the week has gone by, and that is Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios is definitely going to go in the excellent category, and at his position, he is a premium. There is not any other right-handed defenseman that fit the mold that Chris Chelios has. If you like Luke Martin, for example, the 81 Finnish right-handed defenseman that I referenced in my Cards to Watch series, you're going to absolutely love Chris Chelios because he offers everything Luke Martin does, but increased. Body checking is better, defensive awareness is better, gold shutdown is going to make that body checking better, and he has the offensive and skating categories to back it up. I wouldn't pick him with my first hologram choice, but as a right-handed defenseman, he is a premium asset and definitely someone you should go out of your way to obtain. Next up, from the Pittsburgh Penguins, we have left-handed defenseman Paul Coffey, and Paul Coffey is definitely going to go into the best 82 category. As a left-handed offensive defenseman, you are looking for a combination of speed and shot, and Paul Coffey definitely has that. And what puts him over the edge instead of Sergei Gonchar for me is I think that Paul Coffey is in line to receive more upgrades throughout the year, whether it's through like the small event cards or through an MSP. EA always gives Paul Coffey love, and his ability list is usually the best in the game, usually including things like gold wheels or gold elite edges. Paul Coffey is a fantastic left-handed defenseman and someone who you could use right now on your second pair. As we get further into this, you're going to start noticing that some of the icons may be a little bit middling and not as good, and we're going to start off with probably my least favorite one, and that's Chris Draper, who's definitely going to go into the non-meta category. 5'10", 188 pounds, not even as fast as Rod Brind'Amour, and everything that Brind'Amour does, Draper can do it better. Face-offs, Brind'Amour's better. Size, Brind'Amour's better. Speed is the exact same. Hands and shot, Brind'Amour's better. All that Draper has over Brind'Amour is silver, quick draw, and the defensive awareness category. Draper has a synergy that not many people have with grinding forward, and I honestly think that this is a player that you could replace with a lot of normal base cards on your team. I don't think Chris Draper is worth anyone's time unless you're a Red Wings fan. It's unfortunate because I think he was such a good player in his prime, but in NHL 25, he's not worth your time. I would stay clear of Chris Draper. From the Nashville Predators, we have Mike Fisher. Carrie Underwood's husband might have been a fantastic Predator and Ottawa Senator in his prime. However, in NHL 25, he is also going to go in the non-meta list. He is just a right-handed Rod Brind'Amour who can't do as much. I would put him almost in the same category as Draper, but because of Fisher's size, and I think he has a decent ability in Silverborn Leader, I think he gets a slight edge over Draper. So if you wanted, you could move Draper over here. But I don't think Fisher or Draper are worth anyone's time and should go right into that set for your first hologram card. From the New Jersey Devils, we have one of the more polarizing hockey players of the last 15 years, Scotty Gomez. And Scotty Gomez is also going to go in the non-meta category. Very small, he's under 6 foot, and he's a center with really bad defensive awareness, bad size, doesn't have a lot of speed. His best assets are his playmaking ability, but there are other centers that can do his job better than him. 84 speed again at 5'11 is really bad, and Scott Gomez again just isn't really worth your time. His ability is decent with puck on a string, but I would not waste ability points on him. I would stay clear of Scotty Gomez as well as Draper and Fisher. Next up from the Washington Capitals, we have Penguins and Capitals great Sergei Gonchar, and just like Penguins great Paul Coffey, Sergei Gonchar is going to go into the best 82 category. Sergei Gonchar and Paul Coffey offer a lot of the similar qualities. Offensive defenseman, good shot, good skating, middling body checking. Gonchar is a little bit bigger at 6'2", as opposed to Paul Coffey's 6 foot, but both are going to offer different abilities depending on who you use. Paul Coffey throughout the year is going to have more passing and skating abilities such as wheels and elite edges, and Sergei Gonchar, although he might get elite edges, is going to offer more shooting abilities such as seeing eye, heat seeker, and 1T. So if you were looking for more goals from your defense, which is what we're seeing in a D2D meta, I think Sergei Gonchar would be the better offensive option, but a better overall option if you want to sacrifice a little bit of size and shooting for more speed and mobility and better abilities, I would go with Paul Coffey. But you can't go wrong with either. Sergei Gonchar definitely deserves to be one of the best 82s. Well, after talking about some middling centers, and then finally we're starting to get back up into the good players, let's finally go with the best player of all time, Wayne Gretzky from the St. Louis Blues. One of the fastest players in the game, some of the best face-offs in the game, the best hands in the game, just some really bad body checking. But who cares when you get gold elite edges for free? The GOAT of NHL, 2,857 points, Wayne Gretzky. His goal record's going to get beat by Ovechkin within the next 2 years, but as of right now in NHL 25, he's probably the best shooter as well, besides maybe Lemieux. Gretzky definitely deserves to be in the top 3, and I think we're going to see Mario there as well later on. But I think the question is, who takes up that 3rd slot? Wayne Gretzky, definitely one of the top 3 holograms that you should be acquiring. Dale Hawerchuk from the Winnipeg Jets is Scott Gomez if EA had made him right. Dale Hawerchuk is going to go in the mid category because I think there are centers such as Rod Brind'Amour who do his job as a centerman better. Hawerchuk's a little bit smaller than Brind'Amour, but at least he has the speed and shot that Gomez didn't have. Gomez is going to have a little bit better passing. Hawerchuk isn't really going to have good defensive attributes attributes either, but I think just overall that Hawerchuk offers more positional versatility. He can play on your power play and penalty kill, and at least he has average to above average offensive stats that Gomez doesn't have. Gomez is just going to be there for playmaking. Hawerchuk is going to be there for a lot more. I know comparing the two players seems weird, but I'm trying to justify their slot on the tier ranking. Hawerchuk is going to be a better two-way center than Scott Gomez is going to be. I would definitely pick Hawerchuk as maybe a fourth or third line center depending on where you're at on your team, but he can also transition to the wing once you find better centers like who we're going to talk about soon with Mike Modano, or if you acquire a Rod Brind'Amour. He's a fine pick, but just someone I wouldn't choose first. If hockey was played from the dots down to the end boards, Gordie Howe would be one of the top 3 icons in the game. However, for now, he's going to slide into that excellent category. Very good body checking, probably one of the best forechecking players in the game. He's a little bit slower at 85 speed, but the 88 acceleration really helps him take off when he's on the forecheck. 88 body checking. His shot is a little bit mid when it comes to power, but gold close quarters is going to make him really good in the middle of the ice. When he's close to the net, he's going to finish his chances even if he doesn't have the shot power. It's just that his shot from distance isn't going to do well. Really good hands, great offensive awareness stat. His defensive awareness is good too. He's going to be able to play a solid two-way game, and he's someone that you can use on both the power play and penalty kill. If it was me and I had a chance to build the greatest team in the game, Gordie Howe would be my second line right winger, first power play, first penalty kill. He's just an all-around good player, and he should be getting some of the most special teams ice time of any forward on your team. The ultimate boom or bust selection of this list is Brett Hull, and a little bit of a troll from EA2 giving him Silver Crease Crasher, but from the Dallas Stars we do have Brett Hull, the best shot in the game. Honestly, the best shot. The issue is that off the rush, you're not going to be able to find him. He's too slow. 82 speed, 83 acceleration. It's just not a player that you want to be using much. However, if you happen to have him on your fourth line for whatever reason, I would put him on the first power play on that left side in the 1-3-1 because his one-timers are just going to be absolute rockets. For right now and for the next couple weeks, I think Brett Hull is fine on your team, again, as a first-line power play guy who's playing no penalty kill time, and also I would not put him anywhere higher than line 4. But he's going to quickly fall out of favor. He's going to fall behind in speed. He's not particularly big, and he has no body checking or defensive category. Again, he's kind of like Daniel Sprong is in real life. You should have him on your fourth line on the first power play. Other than that, he's kind of middling. Next up, we have Calgary Flames legend Jarome Iginla. And Jarome Iginla and Gordie Howe are kind of the same person, but if I had to classify them based on their attributes, I would say Iginla I feel more comfortable with as a perimeter scorer. He's more of a true winger, someone that I would put on my first line even strength because he could probably play a more offensive based game with someone like Wayne Gretzky, for example. Gord should be more on your special teams because of his ability to collect pucks low, both offensively and defensively, and lay more body checks. Close quarters I think is better than Gold Make It Snappy, which is what Jarome Iginla has, but they're kind of interchangeable at this point. If you're looking for more of a perimeter scorer, someone who can score from distance, I would go with Jarome Iginla, but if you're looking for someone who can play more special teams minutes and is better below the circles, I would go with Gord. Both are excellent options. However, for me, they're 1A, 1B when it comes to right-handed wingers in this game. Up next, we have Wayne Gretzky's trigger man, Jari Kurri, and Jari Kurri is going to go into the best 82s category. The category might get a little bit full, but that's how many 82s I think are actually good in the game. Jari Kurri, again, is not going to offer a lot of body checking. He's not going to offer a lot of defense, but at 6'1", he is really fast for his size, and he's one of the best all-around offensive wingers. I think he is the best 82 overall right-handed winger in the game, and he's always bound to get a charity upgrade that ends up having good face-offs for some reason. He could actually play fourth line center for you in a pinch right now if you really wanted, but Jari Kurri honestly should be on most people's second line right now, and very underrated card, very underappreciated. You see a lot of comp players using him right now, and it's simply because he has one of the best shots of any of the 82 icons. He's faster than Brett Hull, he has more size, he's going to be able to keep up with some of the players like a Connor McDavid or a Nathan McKinnon better than someone who's going to lag behind like Hull. And unlike Hull, Curry's going to be able to play more than just on the fourth line. His speed is going to allow him to play up in the lineup more. So if you had to pick a right-handed 82 overall winger right now, I would go with Jari Kurri. Pat LaFontaine from the Buffalo Sabres is up next. And honestly, LaFontaine and Kurri share a lot of the same qualities. Right-handed, middle-sized, have good offensive attributes. But why Pat LaFontaine is inevitably going to end up in the mid category is the fact that even though he he is listed as a center, and he does have better faceoffs than Jari Kurri. I actually think he has less positional versatility because of his awareness stats. 84 offensive awareness, 77 defensive awareness make him very weird. He's not going to be able to pick off a lot of passes when he plays as a center, but 84 offensive awareness on the wing doesn't necessarily seem the best either. He's very fast, 5'10", you expect him to be fast, and he has a good shot, but his shot's not as good as Kurri's in my opinion. Sniper forward's really going to help him, make it snappy is going to help him, but Kurri has those same things too, so if you activate sniper forward on LaFontaine, you'd be able to do the same with Kurri. So for me, I think there's just better options, which is why LaFontaine is going to end up in the mid category. Last year was the first year in a long time, if ever, that Mario Lemieux was not better than Wayne Gretzky in Hockey Ultimate Team, but this year he's fighting back for that #1 spot. Right now it's neck and neck between them, you know, for #1 or 2 in the eyes of public opinion. For me, I actually think they're #2 and 3, and we'll get into that later. But Mario Lemieux has one of the most accurate shots, a really good ability with Unstoppable Force this year. Hitting is very hard, so Mario Lemieux is going to be able to take a lot of bumps with Unstoppable Force that you get for free, by the way. Also, his defensive category is not that bad. He has good faceoffs. He can play center and wing as at 6'4", 230. He does not have speed that hinders him. He actually, speed and acceleration and his skating in general is actually one of his positives. Mario Lemieux is definitely one of the top 3 you should be going after. I think he is #3 personally, but if you were to pick him #2, that would be fine as well. In fact, if you were to pick him #1, that'd be fine as well. Mario Lemieux, absolute stud, and he's going to be a really good meta card for a while. We might even see more charity upgrades for someone like Mario Lemieux as we go out through the year. If you are looking for a workhorse defenseman, Nicklas Lidstrom from the Detroit Red Wings is going to be your man. One of the smartest players in the game with a high offensive awareness and high defensive awareness attribute. He can play on your first power play and your first penalty kill and your first even strength pair. He can play 30 minutes a night. His endurance is going to allow him to do that with two-way defensemen. And gold quick pick is really strong. Despite the fact that interceptions are already strong enough, having that extra edge is going to give you an advantage, especially when the ability cost is nothing. Nicklas Lidstrom isn't going to have the same mobility as someone like a Paul Coffey or even a Scott Niedermayer, who we'll talk about soon. But when it comes to just having a solid all-around defenseman who you can trust to pick up an interception, and he's not going to get pushed around and can push other people around somewhat as well, you're going to pick Nick Lidstrom. No true weaknesses in his game. It's just that the things that he's worse at are 5 out of 10s instead of 2 out of 10. One of the best all-around players in the game right now. We're starting to get into a little bit of the mushy middle where players are not going to be all that good. In fact, Claude Lemieux, I think, is probably a bottom 3 icon in the game. The 8 discipline is going to lead him to being in the penalty box a lot, and he's probably not a candidate for a charity upgrade until near the playoff time, as Claude Lemieux and Chris Draper did have a lot of battles in the Avalanche Red Wings rivalry of the early 2000s. I just don't think Claude Lemieux is good, and if we're going to go into that, we might as well just jump right into Trevor Linden, who is just mid. 6'4", 220 pounds is always going to give him a spot at the bottom of someone's lineup. I just don't think it's worth going out of your way for. His faceoffs aren't necessarily the greatest. His best attribute is shot blocking, and even though Trevor Linden cards will get an MSP from every once in a while, just simply because EA are a bunch of knock-homers such as myself, I just don't think that he's worth it. Right-handed centers are not as valuable as left-handed centers, and despite his size, he doesn't really have any other attributes that are going to help him exceed in an elevated role. Next up from the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have Bryan McCabe, who honestly, despite the fact that he is listed as an offensive defenseman, all he has is shot power. Silver 1T is nice, but he's not a defenseman I would deem worthy of putting ability points on, and honestly, just again, another undisciplined defenseman. He doesn't really have all the greatest size and speed combo, and there's just other left-handed defensemen who do his job better. Bryan McCabe, I think he's going to go in the non-meta category. Next up, we'll go into Rick Nash. Rick Nash is always a candidate for a charity upgrade, but I think his 82 icon card is not going to be good. Of course, Nasher's going to get him that charity upgrade eventually, and he's going to be good, so we're going to put him in the mid category. But for right now, I wouldn't look at acquiring a Rick Nash. He's on the cusp of going into non-meta for me, but just his size and the fact that we know he probably gets a charity upgrade at some point due to the influence of some of the people in the community, that's why he's going to go in mid for me. Next up, we got Al MacInnis. I'm going to put him in the mid, but he's also bordering on that non-meta where I think there are other defensemen who do his job better. I know right-handed defensemen are hard to find, but I think Al MacInnis is not someone that you should be going out of the way of simply for his name recognition. He's going to have a hard shot. We all know this. He's going to eventually get a 99 slap shot power build. We know this. However, cards right now like Luke Martin are actually better than Al MacInnis, because at least someone like Luke Martin can throw a hit. Al MacInnis is just there for shot power, and he's not even guaranteed to hit the net. Earlier, when I stated that Nicklas Lidstrom could play on your top even strength pair, that is with the caveat that you don't have Scott Niedermayer. Scott Niedermayer is basically a Quinn Hughes and a Nicklas Lidstrom hybrid. He has gold elite edges, which you can get for 0 AP cost. He's going to have better skating than Nick Lidstrom. His defensive category is actually kind of comparable and has better stick checking, and his body checking's fine. I keep saying and a lot, but there's so much good to talk about when it comes to Scott Niedermayer. He is someone that you could play on your first power play unit and no one would bat an eye. Actually, I would love to see him put with cover athlete Cale Makar because they're kind of the same player, except that I think Scott Niedermayer is going to get a lot of playoff upgrades in the future. He might be middling and he does not have the best attributes of any of the holograms, but if you really need a defenseman, I think the person you take is Scott Niedermayer, even more so than Bobby Orr, who we'll talk about later. Someone at EA loves Mike Modano, and I'm not going to complain. Mike Modano and Rod Brind'Amour are the best 82 overall forwards of any of the icons, and 6'3", 210 plus pounds with a fast skating silver wheels build, you're not going to find anyone better than Mike Modano. Even with 77 body checking, simply being 6'3" and having that speed is going to allow him to get up the speed to hit people when you line them up in the rally tracks anyways. And he always plays good offensively, gets good cards. He ends up in almost every event. You're bound to see him in the Winter National event as being one of the best American players of all time. He is honestly an 82 that you could put in your top 6 right now, especially if you upgrade him with an icon token. At 83, he's a beast. I'm not the biggest fan of wheels, but if there's one big guy I'm putting wheels on, it's Mike Modano. He is absolutely fantastic and someone that you should pick up right now, especially if you're free to play. Next up from the Minnesota Wild, we have Canucks professional tryout legend Owen Nolan, who is going to go into the mid category, but he is also another one of those guys who is primed to get an all-star game upgrade. He's kind of like a mini Gordie Howe, not in terms of size. He's actually bigger, as Gord is 6 foot 205 and Nolan is 6'1", 214, but the build is the same. The body checking, good two-way play, more of a accurate shot, but he's probably going to be better in the middle of the ice as opposed to on the perimeter. Owen Nolan is a good Gordie Howe Jr., but because he's the junior, the second best, there's just other players like Jari Kurri that I think do better at a lower overall than Owen Nolan. So Owen Nolan's going to end up in the mid category. Some people might have been thinking that Bobby Orr would end up in the top 3 category. And last year, if Bobby Orr was an ultimate icon, I think he would have. I think Lemieux would have fallen out of the top 3 and it would have been Gretzky or Howe. But Orr wasn't an ultimate icon. And in this year as a hologram, I don't even think he's in the top 5, really. I think Lidstrom and Niedermayer are better than Orr right now. The only thing with Orr is that because EA just got his rights in the game, they're going to be really desperate to get him some really high rated cards, such as that all-star card from last year. But Bobby Orr, honestly, he's kind of just like a better Paul Coffey, but once you get up into those higher attributes, you need more than just offense. He doesn't have the body checking or defensive category to go with it, and gold wheels is good, especially at a 0 cost, but he's going to be outpaced by some of the forwards like Connor McDavid's X Factor, or he's going to have similar speed to Gretzky. You don't really need gold wheels on a defenseman anyway. I rather him have edges, which is why in my opinion Niedermayer is better, and he's not even all that big, so you can't even justify his low physicality. He would be the 3rd best left-handed defenseman right now, although if I had to pick any of the 3 for my power play, I would probably pick Orr. But other than that, Niedermayer and Lidstrom are better options in my opinion. Next up from the New York Islanders, we have Mike Peca, and he's going to go into the non-meta category, but I'd like to preemphasize this by saying that he's actually a really good 4th line candidate for the rest of the season. I just don't think that there's enough there to justify using him anywhere else. Like, you can't use him really on the penalty kill. You can't really use him on the power play. His faceoffs are good enough to use in a 4th line role if you need to win a faceoff, but he's just a little bit too small. He usually doesn't even really get any good upgrades either, and he has a synergy that isn't really used much. I don't think Mike Peca, you know, respect to him, good NHL player, former Canuck. I just don't think anyone has any use for a Mike Peca in their lineup. For me, if you're gonna be a winger, you need to either be great or you can't play on my team at all. I'd rather fill out my bottom 6 with centers that could at least have the positional versatility, which is why Mark Recchi for me is going to end up in non-meta. He is another one of those players with a high speed stat and a lower acceleration stat, which is good, and he's a left-handed winger, but I don't actually think Mark Recchi is all that good. His ability isn't all that great. Again, his size is middling, decent speed, but there's just other left-handed players who do it better. I rather have a Modano. I rather have a Hawerchuk. I just don't think there's room for a middling winger like that on most people's teams. On the contrary, he's going to end up in the best 82s. Small man Martin St. Louis, a former undrafted player, former Calgary Flame. Martin St. Louis has one of the highest endurance stats I've seen in this game at 94, which is a lot considering how hard it is to find players with good endurance right now. He's going to get those those charity upgrades, you're going to see a lot of Rangers and Tampa base cards for him. And he's just really fast. Body checking isn't always that powerful, and especially right now, it's not that great. You only really see defensemen like Luke Martin throwing hits or Chris Chelios. If you can match up against some of those smaller defensemen, like maybe an Alex Wang from my cards to watch, you're not going to get hit a lot, and he's just gonna be able to outpace everyone. You could put him in on your third line, but also have him in your top power play and penalty kill if you want. He's small, so you might think penalty killing might be hard for him, but that speed is deadly. It's gonna force the power play to show you a little bit of respect. Martin St. Louis, underdog player, underutilized. I think more people should use him. Next up from the San Jose Sharks, we have the biggest charity upgrade candidate, and that's Joe Thornton. The Sharks are not going to be very good this year, and Macklin Celebrini is not in hut. Neither is Will Smith, so they're going to be desperate to give some Sharks some really good cards going into the year, and I think Joe Thornton is going to get either a really good Sharks card or a really good Bruins card. Joe Thornton, 6'4", 220 pounds, one of the best passers in NHL history. He has a good ability with third eye, which helps with saucer passes out of vision, and the passing abilities in this game are really good anyways, but he's just a little bit too slow right now. Again, good charity upgrade, especially with the love that's going to come from no sleeves, but right now he's not even a roster candidate for me. Next up, we got Matt Sundin, and I think Matt Sundin is the best icon in the game. Gold quick draw, just an absolute behemoth at 6'5". He's bigger than Lemieux, and he just has really good all-around attributes. No, I'm not saying this because I'm a Canuck fan and he played for us in 2009-2010 season. No, not at all. I know right-handed centers are hard to justify using, but at no cost with gold quick draw, if you have Matt Sundin, he should be your first line center for now and for the foreseeable future. And if you are somehow able to have Sundin and Gretzky, I would think you put Sundin as your first line center and you move Gretzky to the wing and you keep him there and you find a different second line center. I just think Matt Sundin is easily the best icon in the game right now. No question about it. Pick up Quebec Nordique's Matt Sundin. As we approach the end, let's choose a player who is responsible for one of the biggest riots in Montreal history, Maurice Richard, famous for punching a referee before a playoff game and getting suspended for the whole playoffs. Maurice Richard is going to end up in the non-meta category. Sorry, Montreal Canadian fans, he's just not great. They always give him skating abilities, but his skating is never any of the fastest, so he ends up just kind of falling behind, and he's just a small winger. I don't think he can fit on people's penalty kill. I don't think he can fit on people's power plays right now, and honestly, no discipline either. I think they really need to rebalance Maurice Richard cards better, because as one of the best goal scorers in early NHL history, this man deserves more respect. And then finally, we get to Esa Tikkanen, who's going to end up in the mid category. He's just a bigger winger. He's going to get a lot of cards with good passing attributes and physicality, which is a weird combination. You don't typically see good physicality in hands without good shooting or skating, and he's kind of like a middling size. But Esa Tikkanen always gets really weird upgrades. He's always appreciated well because of like the Rangers teams, the Canucks, and the Oilers dynasty teams. He's just a weird charity upgrade candidate, but at the end of the day, he's not the greatest penalty killer, and he's not going to be on your power play. He's going to end up in that mid category. And there you have it, icon tier list for NHL 25. I hope there are some icons out there that you find beneficial for your team, and I hope there are some hidden gems that you're able to pick up and fill out your lineup with. Of course, you should be going after the hologram cards, but some of these 82s have a lot of value as well. I would hope you leave a like and a comment on this video and tell me what content you would like to see next. Tomorrow on Sunday is my strategy video, and we're also going to have an offensive and defensive video. I'd like to touch on my strategy video by letting you know it is about the checking in neutral zone and transition offenses. Defensive videos and offensive videos will have more in-depth analysis, but if you are looking for the best strategies, camera angles, on-ice trainer information, and all that stuff, check out my strategy video tomorrow. This is just a nice little bonus video. Twitch.tv/Sapsterr for more streams. I'm going to be streaming tonight. I took a day off so I could film this video today, but we're going to be back on the grind starting tomorrow. With the new content system, we're all going to be grinding for the XP. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Ciao.